Fed up of floor robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host, Heather Tingle. Now, today's episode has come about because it's something I have to keep maintaining frequently, as it can get really out of control so quickly and it causes cupboard nightmares, and that is Tupperware. Now, I know at least one untangler will be very annoyed with me for grouping all the plastic containers as Tupperware, as you're only meant to call it that if it's by that brand, but that is the word I use for that kind of stuff. So for the absence of doubt, when I say Tupperware, I'm talking about anything plastic or glass that you use for food storage solutions. Now, I'm going to start by saying I use plastic containers, and I am aware these might not be the best for my health or the environment. So I will link some glass alternatives in the show notes. Although even glass ones these days tend to have plastic lids, but I suppose you could use wax cloths or something else more environmentally friendly if that is what feels right for you. However, at the moment, for me, I'm having to pick my battles, and at the moment, that means choosing ease with what I've already got, which is plastic. Now, it seems to be one of the major causes of cupboard avalanches in kitchens. And it's that thing where you open a cupboard or a drawer and it all tumbles out. It's all a big mess. And also you desperately need a container, but you can't find one the right size or find the lid that goes with it with the bottom bit. So where on earth do they go? They also seem to have got a habit whereby they multiply without any effort to. So in my house, they definitely do that, as I have a lot of takeaway food. And then that definitely increases the volume I've got regularly, and that's why I've got to keep on top of them, because they start to become problematic as they impact the space they're taking up, and it becomes harder to find a matching one when I need it. Okay, so how to deal with them? First thing to do is dig them all out. Get them all together and then start matching them up. It's like a big game of pairs. Bottoms to lids. Look at them by the size. Which sizes are the most useful? And are there any that are too big or too small and never used because there's just no need for them? Sometimes when you get a set, there's some tiny ones that are absolutely no use for most people. And also, sometimes there are ones that are far too big to put portions in or you will never use in a million years. So remember, just because something came as a set does not mean it needs to stay that way. I think that's really important to remember with these things. Secondly, this is where a bit of logic comes in. How many do you actually need? How many do you physically get through? So something that's useful is to consider what you use them for. So, for example, if you batch cook, how many portions or tubs do you need at once? How many would you do in a batch? How many can fit in your freezer or fridge on an average week? What's the average number of portions you can create at once? Knowing how many you can use on a weekly or a monthly basis can be really helpful to give you a rough estimate of how many you're going to need. And this isn't an exact science, like a rough guess is fine, so don't let that put you off. So how many can you have in storage in your fridge or freezer, and how many extras do you need? So for me, for example, I could maybe do, if I was doing like a batch cook, which happens very, very infrequently because I'm not well enough to do it usually, but I could maybe do like 5 portions at a time because I've got a small slow cooker. So 5 portions to freeze. And then I'd also need at least 3 for like current fridgeable things throughout the week. So that's 8. Yeah, that is 8, isn't it? I'm rubbish at numbers, as you can tell. So maybe then I'd like an extra 2 for good measure, for good luck. So I'd need 10. Not the 25 currently taking up space in the bottom of a kitchen cupboard, and not that weird little one that really doesn't fit 1/4 of a can of sweet corn in. Like, there's no point to it. So I also need them not to be cracked. I also need them to have lids. And talking of lids, how to store them is something to consider too. Now, how you store them is totally up to you and the space you've had. For clients, storing them with lids on, for some, makes it perfect sense, as they've got the space and they can instantly grab the tub they need in its entirety, and there's no faffing around trying to match lids up. For me, I don't have the space to do that. So for me, lids are grouped together in the top tub and they're all stacked. Now, if you're storing them lids so they're separate, how can you make life easier for yourself? How can you get it so the lids match up? Are you just going to have a whole set, the entire same, so all the lids match all the bottoms? Or are you going to have different coloured ones? Have a look at what you've already got and then consider using something like a Sharpie marker. I have known clients use things like nail polish on the outside to create like a matching system, so it's easy to see at a glance which lid goes on which bottom. Now, please know I bear no responsibility for that solution if it is a terrible non-food safe idea and I don't want to blow anyone's microwave up if someone put like metal bits in the nail polish, for example. So, word of caution, do what's right for you. It's not my fault. Then when you're deciding which ones to keep, for some of you, this will sound silly. For some of you, you will totally get it. Go with your favourites. Do you have a favourite type? Not necessarily the best ones, not necessarily the good ones. For example, I love my old Chinese takeaway tubs that I used to have from a very specific Chinese takeaway that I don't get anymore. So I have a very favourite Chinese tub type, and it's got a slightly rounder lid than the newer ones, but it's more substantial than some of the others. So that is my favourite, and it's the one I always go to first. And it is totally okay to admit that in my world if you have a favourite tub. Now, if you do, go with it and keep those. And if you don't, then let's look at other options. Now look, have any of them been stained? So have they had baked beans in them or bolognese sauce? Have they got a bit orange? Can you rescue them if you really like them? Now, is it worth it? So you will either think, actually, it is worth me trying this, or do you know what? It's just a tub. I'm going to let it go. That's okay too. So I've seen the social media videos of a piece of kitchen roll with little bit of water and fairy liquid or Dawn dish soap if you're in the US, and then you shake it to remove the orange colour. Now, I've not done it, so I don't know if it works. So if it does work, let me know. So has it gotten a bit orange? Does it feel a bit icky to keep? Is it the one that you would save to last to use? In which case, let it go, because it's always going to be the bottom one. You're never going to get to it. Are they pitted or are they brittle? You don't want bits of plastic in your food, so let them go. And how to exit them. Now, if they're broken or chipped, some may be able to be recycled. You might be able to give them away, but to start with, they can be really handy also to repurpose while you're decluttering and organising. For example, they can be really useful storage solutions for things in drawers. Now, keep them until you've finished untangling. Now, I know this is against what I normally say, which is once you've got rid of things, get them out of the house as soon as possible. But for this category, I would like you to consider keeping them. Yep, even those without lids, because they can get used so often. Now, you might not be getting items out of the house, but you are making one thing in your kitchen easier to deal with, and you've just created some extra storage solutions for the rest of your house for free. So it is still a win. And let me know how you get on. There you go. That's a few things for you to consider. And I want you to carry on being kind to yourself. Remember, you're not alone, and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour. Hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.